Vacuums are spaces devoid of air. Without air, sound has no medium to travel through, making them completely silent. So how do you portray that in film? In media, one of the most common vacuums we encounter is outer space, but it isn't always depicted as silent. Sometimes there's dialogue that needs to be heard, or a flashy explosion that demands impact. It can sound like this. Or this. Or even this. Because vacuums are silent in reality, their portrayal in media offers endless creative possibilities. It presents a unique challenge for creators. Since space has no sound, every sonic element must be added or left out intentionally. Each scene is built up from the foundation of silence, so any deviation from realism is usually a conscious choice. And while it might not always be scientifically accurate, complete silence isn't always practical for storytelling either. That's why sound designers can take creative liberties to strike a balance between realism and narrative impact. Today, I want to break down an awesome example from the 2022 anime Summertime Rendering. The scene isn't set in space, but it does feature a vacuum, and the way it's depicted through sound is genius. Just a heads up, this video includes minor spoilers. Welcome to Sound Bits I Love, a channel where I showcase sound design moments that caught my attention. Summertime Rendering follows Shinpei Ajiro, a young man investigating the tragic death of his friend and mysterious entities known as shadows. The moment I loved takes place in episode 15, at the end of a battle where the main characters have incapacitated the shadows with fire. But then, everything goes silent. The girl, who's actually a shadow, unleashes an attack that removes all the air from the gymnasium, instantly forming a vacuum which puts out the fire. Creating an attack that literally deprives a space of air is already super creative, but the sound design makes it even more impactful. The girl's scream is made up of multiple layers and shifted in pitch, giving it a fuller, almost alien quality. Combined with the sudden cut to silence, the scene feels disturbing and otherworldly. The vacuum itself is also portrayed with relatively realistic sound design. It's silent, which technically grounds the moment and makes the contrast even more striking. But the sudden lack of sound feels unsettling at first, because we don't expect it. This confusion puts us right in the characters' shoes. Just as they're deprived of oxygen, we're robbed of our ability to hear. To enhance this effect, the girl's footsteps are framed in close proximity, yet completely silent to further heighten tension. You expect to hear something, but you don't, and that absence makes it feel more intense. The lack of sound becomes a sound itself, and its intentionality is a hallmark of the scene's amazing sound design. Another smart detail is the filtered dialogue. High frequencies are removed to potentially mimic a loss of senses. A fully realistic approach might have played the scene completely silent, with no audible speech while the characters' mouths remained moving. But since some dialogue is needed to clarify what's happening, the high-cut filter is a clever compromise that still sells the moment. The characters mention they can't breathe, which informs us of the vacuum, but ultimately we feel it through the sound design. The restricted frequency range almost feels suffocating. It's super creative. Then, the windows burst open, finally allowing sound to rush back in. It breaks the uneasy stillness of the scene and offers a much-needed sense of relief. The sound of glass shattering is rich in high-frequency content, and hearing those frequencies again feels like taking a breath of fresh air. Even the dialogue had been muffled until this point, so the sudden return of the entire frequency range subconsciously reassures the audience. It's a subtle yet powerful technique that deepens emotional impact. The sound design of vacuums having to be so deliberate elevates scenes like the one I showcased into something more. They become a kind of window into a creator's filmmaking approach, a microcosm that allows us to observe their unique sound design philosophy. It shows how creative some works are willing to get, and highlights the power of sound design as a tool for personal expression and style. This scene from Summertime Rendering shows just how much care the creators poured into the series, and into its sound design. The semi-realistic approach to the vacuum's sound environment makes this moment stand out in the otherwise everyday setting of the gym, making it feel more threatening and immersive. The absence of sound becomes just as powerful as its presence, and the filtered dialogue reveals the creative thought that went into the mix. I hope you can see why I love this moment so much. Anyway, rant over.